instead of like rent it. What did I do there? Rent it. So he's going to feel like an idiot and be like, rent sucks financially. Okay, so help me out. So why'd you buy the home like financially instead of like rent it?
I just didn't want to throw my money away. Just wasted money. I read it, you know.
So you feel like rent is like throwing money in the garbage is what you're saying?
Yeah, you don't get anything at the end of it. So, yeah, I want to invest in my own house.
Oh, tell me more. So like every time you pay your mortgage, you don't feel bad about it, kind of?
No, because I'm going to get something at the end of it.
And do you plan on being here for like 30, 40, 50 years? How long is it? So you did a mortgage, I'm assuming, right? Did you pay cash?
No, we did a mortgage, but we'll be here for like 5 years, probably 10 years max.
5, 10 years? Cool. But like, how long is your mortgage?
30 years.
30 years? Wait, how's it even work? You signed a 30-year mortgage, but you just told me you're going to be here for like 5 to 10 years. Like, what the freak? How does that even make sense? You like signed on the dot. Like, you're like committed to 30 years. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know why I did it.
But like, how does it still make sense? Like, 5 years, you move, what happens? What happens to the mortgage? You're going to move.
Yeah, you know how it works. Like, you sell the house. You just pay off the bank or something. They work their magic and pay off the balance, and I get some equity at the end of it.
Oh, and so do you think you make money or lose money on average? In 5 years, do you think you'll make money on this investment?
Hope I make money.
Most of the time you do, right? Whereas if you were to be renting for these next 5 years, where did you make any money?
Yeah.
Totally garbage, right?
Right.
Cool. That's why you'll do solar. Does that make sense? You can leave it just like that. So I can keep going, but what were some of the, and I'm going to pause, we're going to keep going, and I'm going to show you a couple of scenarios, okay? So by me helping him through an analogy, he is now so far down a hole to where he can't contradict himself when I go bring up the same logic in 2 seconds with solar. Does that make sense? What objection did I overcome?
The mortgage, the loan.
30 years, 25-year loan. So you're saying it still makes sense to do 30 years, so probably could keep your payment down, right? On a 30-year mortgage, your payment's like what?
$1,500.
And if you were to rent this home, how much would you pay in rent if you were to be like a tenant? What do you think that would cost?
Probably like $1,800.
Even more. Crazy. So it made more sense to own it, have equity, have a low payment, and then if you move, you just pay it off and you make money and the person buys it. And it's a win, right?
Exactly.
Made way more sense.
Oh, yeah.
Let's hypothetically. So I would draw this on a piece of paper. Ready? And hopefully you guys are filming, writing this down. This is good stuff. I draw 2 little triangles. And I say, okay, 2 homes are equal. One, you have a mortgage payment of $1,500, and one, you have a rent payment of $1,300. Which one do you pick?
I still buy it.
But it's more.
Yeah, but it's going into my own pocket.
So you're saying you pay $200 more every month that's leaving your bank account to own versus rent. That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But it makes sense for you?
Yeah.
It's going into equity. Like there's value there.
Yeah.
Cool. What did I just overcome right there?
Price.
What happens? Does it ever come back a proposal cost more than their monthly bill? Every time where I sold, you guys have 15 cents average here. I had 10 cents average where I was per kilowatt hour. You have like cheaper items selling in cheaper electric bills. Every time it's 20, 30, 40 bucks more every month. And people are like, you're not saving me any money. I can't sell this. I had reps that be like, these proposals are so ugly. I'm like, you just suck as a salesperson. Because what I just told him, he just told me he's going to pay $200 more every month to own the house versus pay rent. So when I bring up a $30 more payment every month, can he be like, that's more? I'm like, yeah, but you own it, you idiot. You just told me how that logically made sense to you. Does that make sense? Overcame it. Did I dig at all? Have I had the shovel once? Have I said any statements at all? 100% of the words that have come out of my mouth have been what? A question. Did you guys catch that? Not once did I dig. So let's keep going. Who wants to see me keep going? Is this interesting? So So other objections that I'm trying to overcome, how am I helping him see things from a new perspective, a belief system? So watch. That's why we'll do solar. That's the only statement I'll say half of my presentation. Most of my presentation is me just asking questions and being like, so let me ask you this, like, how much do you pay for electric bill?
Pay like $150 a month.
150 bucks. And how long of a contract did you sign? Like, how long of a commitment did you give to them? Like, did you like...
Yeah, it's a year.
A year, and then you'll stop electricity?
No, I just sign up for somebody else, probably. I always shop out my deal every single year so I get the lowest rate.
Like, yes or yes, are you going to have electricity in the home?
Yeah.
And every time you shop out your deal to get the lesser rate, it's like changing rent payment to rent payment, right?
Yep.
So either way, you're paying money towards the garbage. Because if you move in 5 years, where does all that money go? Power company, right? So what happens is every year, utilities tend to kind of go up unless you kind of chop them a little bit. But regardless, all of that equity that you could have been putting towards solar, so how solar works is you get to own your power to where every time you pay your monthly payment, just like your mortgage was, it would be going towards an asset. And do you think having solar in your house makes your home worth more or less? Like one home with solar, I'm curious. 2 homes are equal. One home has a power plant, a solar producing energy generating machine on it. One home doesn't. Which one do you think's worth more?
On solar.
You think that? I'm curious, like you would say that.
Yeah, for sure.
What objection did I just overcome? Do you ever get that objection? Did you see how through inception I made him dig? Can you now tell me that at the end? But did I tell you that? Like, I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, I'm curious. 2 homes exactly equal. One has a power plant producing power at a fixed cost, creating the energy. One doesn't. This one you would say would be more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Like, nobody could fight me on this. Okay. So now you know you're building towards an asset that's going to increase the value of the home, and you move in 5 years. All the money towards the panels, what do you think, because the value of the home comes up, what do you think happens to all those dollars that you've been paying towards it? Like, just like a mortgage payment, you get to
Cash out.
cash out. Do you get to do that with your utility company?
No.
No. Huh. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So, okay, here's a great line. I'm going to rewind a little bit. One of my favorite lines at the very beginning of my presentation, this is called a pre-frame, is I call it the devil's advocate pre-frame. So I say, I want you to play devil's advocate the whole time. I want you to think of every reason in the world to tell me no throughout this whole presentation. And at the end, if you can think of one good one, I'll walk out, show my stuff, blah, 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 leave. But if you can't think of one, you got to do it. Sound like a fun game? Want to play the game? It's on, dude. It's on. You can play devil's advocate for me, can't you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So what happens if I need a re-roof?
You get a new roof. Like, I have an answer for everything that you probably think of, but 9 times out of 10, because I'm squashing the value, the length of the term, the interest rate, like I'm squashing everything throughout, at the end I'm like, so what would be any reason in the world you wouldn't do this today? And that's my close. And I say it like that. What would be any reason in the world you wouldn't do it today? And the way that I inception that, he's kind of like, I said, no, I'm an idiot. Right? He's in this tunnel. He's dug so far down through my presentation, there is no light. He's like, throw me a ladder or something. Like, I dug so much. Can't get out. You're like, here's a pen. Exactly. What's the best email for you? You gotta get qualified. Stay down there for a little bit until we finish this up. Does that make sense? Is this interesting? Is anybody trained on this kind of stuff? New? Maybe different? I don't know. So, heard it?
Yeah, on your podcast with Taylor Armstrong.
Oh, cool, yeah. You got to talk about it on podcast. So it's all about, so if it's the product, that's the solution. How do I do this for the company? You know, what most people do is, dude, Zenith, we're locally owned, we're right down the street, like we're so legit, look at our reviews, been around for 18 months, whatever you say. And they're like, great. I just want to make sure I'm going with a good company. So watch how I would overcome this. I would inception shovel. You take shovel, and I would say, so there's like a bunch of solar companies. We're one of the bigger ones, but I don't want to sit here and pretend like we're the only ones and we're the best. Like everybody would tell you that. But at the end of the day, you want to feel good about the company you go with, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So how would you know, how would you choose, or what would you be looking for in a company in order to say, I want to do business with them? Like what are you looking for?
I would shop for best value.
Best value. And how do you, okay, so best value. How would you know that you're getting the best value? What would you do to figure that out?
Just get online, look at reviews and stuff.
That's where they always go, right? The problem is that they don't know the plan of action when they have this objection of like, I want to look at other things. You're like, what are you going to research? And they're like, well, I'd look online, I'd look at reviews, and then I'd be like, okay, so now, how many reviews does Zenith have? Or Zenith, am I saying it right? Zenith, how many reviews? A lot? Is it good or bad? Okay, so this is why I say I've worked with companies that have 7 reviews. I've worked with companies that have 1,200 reviews. I own a review management technology that literally texts customers for reviews. Like I have a software that does that. So I have found and researched and studied a lot of technique to this. So watch, if I have a lot of quantity reviews, I'm going to inception him to think of, I better have the most quantity. Does this make sense? So watch how I'll ask the question. So he says reviews, and I go, so is there like a number that's like specific? Let's say I have 200 reviews. Is there like an amount of reviews that would make you feel enough, this has been in business long enough to get this many reviews, to know that they're credible enough of a company? Like is it 100, 200? Like how many reviews is enough? Do you feel like?
I just hop on, I look for like the company with the most reviews, and then I look at the top 3, and I just pick the one with the most stars and read the reviews and stuff. So if you
Yeah, like you want to make sure there's not like this guy killed a dude and like, you know. Yeah, I'm with you.
that'd be a deal breaker.
So as long as the company had a good amount in comparison to everybody else and decent amount of stars, you'd go with them, you'd be like, yes, that's a good one. I'd pick that one. And you'd be like, I'm in.
Yeah, probably. I'd get a quote from them,
And then
then just see what they offer and make sure it's the best price, right?
okay, so price is a big one. So what do you price? Because you said best value. So how would you know it's the best price? So you get.
Bang for your buck, I guess. I don't like to get like the most expensive thing or the cheapest thing.
Okay.
Get like something in the middle.
Cool. And if I could show you in comparison to every other company that's local here, and we could prop that out, and let's say you got 5 bids from those companies, you looked at all 5 side by side, and you still saw that. I'm not saying ours. At that point, you feel comfortable. 3, 2, 1. How many would you look at as far as bids, or
Probably like 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you compare them, and then you go with the middle one that was kind of the middle of the value.
The best bang for your buck.
Best bang for the buck. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I'm like understanding, because then you looked at the 3, you saw that was the best bang for the buck, you analyzed it, you looked at the reviews, you liked that. Then would you go with that company? You're like, that's the one. You pick them and say, yes, I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's how I pick my company.
That's how you pick it. Cool. No other things. It could be those 2 things.
Those 2 things.
100%.
Yep.
See what I'm doing? Dig, 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 keep digging. Where am I going with this? Cool. I'm so glad you said that. I came prepared. So I give you $1,000 right now if you can list more than 4 companies off the top of your head, solar companies.
Me? For real?
No, not you. Right now, 1,000.
Yeah, I don't know.
So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go on Google, and I'm gonna show you the 5 companies that are gonna pop up first. What's cool is I've been doing this long enough, guys. It's a great play because it just stuns them, and they go, "Oh yeah!" Like I couldn't like call 5. Like I've never lost money on that, not once. It's a great line because it helps them realize that they know nothing about solar in the sense of all the solar companies, and they're like, "Well, I better shop you with companies I still don't know who and what. And I'm like, dude, you could call, there's 50 of them. I could give you all their numbers. You could date them all like you did with me and spend the next 50 hours of your life trying to go through different proposals. I know you don't want to do that, nobody has the time to do that. Let's be real. So you want to look at 2 or 3, just like you said. So let's go on Google. First, look us up. Look us up. Go on Google. I just don't want to freaking pull your arm. I look us up. Cool. Look, do you feel like we have enough stars? It's a lot, dude. Especially with how new solar is out here in Midland. Impressive, isn't it? 4 stars, great reviews. I mean, it's great. So now, if we put solar in Midland, there's going to be 4 companies that pop up. Put it in. This is where you're important to do your research. Do you guys have quotes from other companies on hand? You should. And you should make sure they look in your favor and you know how to win them, and make sure all of them aren't more expensive. Have 1 or 2 of them be cheaper than you. But what's cool is you guys use American-made panels, right? So there's an advantage to you. What's cool about you guys is you do have locally offices, and we're built out of here, and you have a cool story around that, and having an alarm company backing XYZ, right? So you have some advantages that you have in Texas that other randos that fly in here and just drop ship don't. So now I'm like, okay, here's a couple of them. You got these guys, you got 1 star, 1 star, 1 star, 1 star, and then you got us. So as you can tell, we obviously are dominating the market. So that helps you, makes you feel good, right? So let's just pick the top 3, which you'd probably call this one and this one. They got 4, 1, right? And I already have proposals from 3 or 4 of them. So I can show you a side-by-side comparison in a comparable system. Your house isn't odd in comparison to all of them. I mean, it's the same square footage as most in this area, similar layout. So I'm just going to show you. Is that cool if I just show you, and I'll put the hat of all those guys on so that you can save tons of time and energy?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Show you. So I asked for his permission because he's like, well, I don't know. And 9 times out of 10 when I say it like I just said it, he's like, yeah, I mean, why not? So I'm like, cool, let me show you the differences. You just saw how legit we are. Look, ours is the biggest bang for the buck. You said you'd go with that one, wouldn't you? Okay, let's do it. What's the best email for you? Does that make sense? So if I know that he's shaky on company and he's the type that is a shopping spree guy and going to look at me like that, and I've read this energy from him, I'm going to go that deep with him to eliminate that, but he dug the whole time. Does that make sense? He can't contradict himself. So you got the inception shovel? Does that all make sense? Does that make sense to you? Or most people are like, look, we have 5 stars. Look, we have this. It's all question based. So it's getting them to do more talking. So the person talking the most buys. You either get sold or be sold, right? Okay, so